I've been spending a lot of reflective time in the last week thinking about what OZworks Group is and has been and will be. And so I put together a few slides, and like I mentioned, there's going to be a longer article that really highlights the details of what we've done as a community. But as I reflect on this and as I carve out this overview, it really, in your comments earlier, are proof of this, but it really means a lot to me that we've established a true community. And what I mean by that is we have a set of core values, we are living it, and we are all part of that ecosystem. So I wrote a little thing here that's, beyond the norms of business and genuine trust. These are all words that you all have used in your reflection on the last year, relationships being a huge part of that. And what we really saw is that OZworks Group had an opportunity to be a bridge between people who represent OZ communities that maybe are lacking in education around tax incentives and generational wealth, and the people who are ultimately able to really take advantage of this on the other end of the spectrum and create a space where those collaborations and communications can happen so that relationships can be built. And so I have an example of this relationship thing and this whole like out of the norm of business. And that is that a lot of you know, and I've gotten to know a lot of you over the last year. And I share very openly about this, but my father passed away in November of this year. And this community rallied and reached out to me and supported me in that. And I say all that and I bring it up because I know that he was a man of incredible faith and belief in people and in making time for everyone and anyone. And you all have done that for me. And so I extend that because a big part of who we are and what we stand for is being here and supporting each other. And I've seen that from all of you. And I want to thank you all for your support of me and for the support of each other and being creative and open to new ideas. That's where innovation comes from. And so as I reflect and think of, wow, like people are happier, they're more connected. There's a unity inside of all this. And those are all things that I happen to stand for personally and professionally. But, when we kick this off, and when I say we, I mean, Ashley Tison, myself, Jimmy Atkinson, when those guys came to me and said, we want to create this network, this community, I really thought, hey, that's great, but it needs to have something more. Like there's a missing component to this industry that is inclusion. And when we talk about leveling the OZ playing field and democratizing access to these resources and connections and capital and relationships, that there really needs to be a choice made to be accessible and make that a commitment. And so throughout the course of this year, we've really made strides in that, I believe, and we continue to. There's still more work to be done. But I can honestly say that through this community, I personally am happier. I feel more connected. And I do believe that there is a lot of unity that's going down inside of this and with everyone. So that really becomes the why. There's a purpose behind all of this. And how did we implement all that? I mean, I've heard from a few of you today, that you feel like you're connected to something, you feel like you're building those relationships. There's proof in extending a culture. And when anybody signs up for this community and they do an intake interview, we cover all of these components, right? We start with that whole simple concept, leading with a giving hand. It's an easy way to execute the how. And that leading with a giving hand ultimately extends into these other components, having engagement, being engaged, like participation is huge. What you put into something is what you get out. Assisting each other. I mean, there's members here that have gone out of their way to help others. And my personal journey and experience is a great example of that. I mean, people just reaching out to say, is there anything I can do for you? That extends into the professional realm of this. Can I support you in raising capital? Can I support you in evaluating your project? Ultimately, through those experiences, we're going to align more with each other. And there's this word in this little chart here that says abundance. And so I've seen that in every single one of you, that you are coming into this community thinking, how can I be expansive versus how can I be restrictive? And it's incredible to see, and it ultimately generates this openness, this sharing, and we can hold each other accountable in that sense as well. So just an overview of how we're doing all this through culture. And there's a bunch of numbers here that I think are also fairly impressive. Like when I think back of just being able to do this for a year. I mean, we launched this January 19th of last year. 42 of you signed up. And that was our pilot. It's like, okay, there's something here. The notable sort of numbers here, and this is just when people sign up for the intake interviews, so that again, it's available to all of our members. We report on how much capital has been raised. And so that's just from intake interview members. And so there's about 60%-ish of people who've taken intake interviews, 59 million raised by those people. We've done 122 online events, which is kind of crazy when I went back and counted. But mostly those are designed for members, 87 for everybody here and 35 publicly available. Those recordings are posted. And so, you all have been the recipients of some of that content for all of it. 30 plus US states. Again, this is just based on what people report back to us. So it could be more. That's why the plus is there. There, as of yesterday, I put these numbers together, there were 226 members. And this is again, all growth from January of this year, I guess. So it's also neat to see some of the reporting on activity and engagement. So on a average, there's 137 of us that are activating inside of our community platform on a monthly basis and 64 on a weekly basis. So that just means you never know who you're going to cross paths with even in this virtual or online environment. And that's just a basic overview. The other thing is, we've created, I use this example of like a university where, we've got this whole campus created, this entire ecosystem. And within it, as we've had these discussions on our Friday sessions and beyond, it's become really apparent that there are compartments and categories and topic areas that really needed guidance and support. And so I see Paul's here today. There are 12 industry leaders in 4 different topic areas that have committed and volunteered their time to answer specific questions around compliance. And here I've got another little picture. So these are the faces of those individuals. Compliance, crypto is something that we've launched and are continuing to explore, and we will throughout the next year as well. Puerto Rico is such a huge part of what we do. We'll have our next live event. We did our last one in June of this year. We're going to do one in a couple of days. I leave tomorrow. And real estate, right? So these are topics that were formed because of a real necessity that we heard. And I want to thank all these people for their time and commitment to this community as a whole. The pitch track, something that we've spent a lot of time talking about on these last few Friday sessions. But when we are really engaged in doing this, providing this and executing on this mission of leveling the OZ playing field, I just wanted to put in some key points to this 2-month pilot that we did, because we as a group, as an ownership group, decided that this was something we wanted to commit to. We saw a need for it, and this has been called like a project pipeline by members, where we wanted to be totally accessible to anyone. And part of that is through our scholarship initiative that we kicked off early in the summer of this year, where we made resource sponsorships. And I do want to thank 33 Holdings and CRE Development Capital for sponsoring those initial scholarships, which we will intend to keep doing. But a handful of people that were scholarship recipients have also participated in this feedback mechanism. So just some numbers. I mean, we kicked this off in October of this year, thanks to CrowdSmart. And then we have 100% of the people who are participating have at least evaluated something. And there's a majority, or at least a handful, like I said, of people that are scholarship recipients that are participating. So what that does is it ultimately gives people a window to be visible. And that is important. That's something that we have seen not necessarily happening in and around this industry as of yet. So we will continue this we're going to start looking for and sourcing some funding to be able to extend this as a tool for our members. That's another piece of this, is that, we have continued to make these parts and components available to our members and continue to build in that core value system versus a whole, open to anyone and everyone. There's a quality versus quantity thing that we truly are focused on. So what's next? These are a couple of milestones that we're looking to achieve in 2022. Q1, we are going to be discussing and launching a capital raising workshop and course. We have 2 live events already scheduled and planned. One is Puerto Rico in the first week of January, and then another one in Atlanta in February. And we'll be also courting a couple of other locations throughout the year. There's working on securing capital for the pitch track program to continue that, as well as scholarships. And in Q2, our plan is to actually launch a certification course for training OZ teams in different areas and regions around the country, and also service providers, so that we can continue to extend that educational factor. And there's a lot of ongoing, what you all have experienced in the last year will continue to go. There's a mentorship program that we are talking about also creating to work in parallel and in tandem with the pitch track and the certification course. So all these pieces are weaving together over the course of the next year, along with all the things that we've already done. So there will still be our online events, our in-person events, and more scholarships to come. So the goal here is to grow to 400 members. That would be in essence doubling in size over the next year, and do that in a real sustainable way. So again, I can't thank you all enough for being a part of this, leading with the giving hand, like we talked about, that essence that you all exude, and it's inspiring. It keeps me going. And, I'd be doing this one way or another, but, it's more than just a business, especially to me. And I believe a lot of you feel that way too. Thank you for being, people that I trust, that have become my friends. And I'm really looking forward to keeping this going with all of you and all the others that are on the horizon that we haven't even thought about yet. So thank you. It's part of a bigger movement. And like I said, if we don't do the things that we're doing in and around this industry, then who's going to? So that is some sort of a rallying cry for 2022. But thank you all.